Alright folks, hello and welcome. So what we're going to be doing today is I'm going to be playing some matches, and I'm going to be using this week because this is the last week, by the way. I've been doing a reasonable amount of Legacy lately because of the ManaTraders. I already talked about this a couple of times on stream, but this is the event that I'm preparing with. If you're interested in joining this event, you can also do that. It's a free entry event. All you need to do is you need to go to ManaTraders. You need to hit right over here where it says play in the November series. Basically, it's not that you need to be subscribed to the ManaTrader service in order to participate. You just get a lot more prizes. You get 10 times the prizes if you are a ManaTrader user. So it's pretty solid. Like, it's pretty amazing for a free entry tournament, right? So all you do is you go here and you hit play in the November series, and boom, you can start. You need to qualify first, which is what we're going to be starting to do today. You need a 70% win rate over 10 matches, or 65 over between 20 and 29, or 60% win rate over 30 matches. And once you do, you get access to, the Swiss, and the Swiss is going to be played, I think, next weekend. And that's going to be the final round. And then, of course, this is going to be the pricing structure. So if you get first and you are not a subscriber, you get $400. But if you are a subscriber, you get 4K. So pretty substantial difference there. Anyway, this is what we're going to be trying to do today. So the thing is going to be a little bit different than what I usually do. The MFO Reunion Tour where I will pay for the flights from Argentina. I mean, flights are pretty expensive right now. I still stay in touch with all of the guys from the Evenfall, so like if we really wanted to, we could actually get back together. Anyway, so this is the list that I've been working on. 29 lands. All of these lands, we have all of the utility ones right here, with the Valakut and the Vesuva. Then the Flagstones, part of the Splinter Twin combo. This is how we get ahead on mana. This is our mana fixing lands, and then our basics. Obviously, you want basics against Wasteland decks particularly, and against Bloodmoon decks as well. Wasteland mostly because it's a great card, but honestly, Wasteland is probably not the best card in the deck. Like, it's a card that I'm excited to be playing, and I have a fourth copy over here on the sideboard, but this is not this deck's game plan. But like, this card is so strong that you just get him, sometimes you just get him. This is, of course, a Green Sun Zenith deck, so we have access to a bunch of bullets. We have access to Collector Oof, we have access to Scavenging Ooze, Knight of Autumn, Tireless Tracker, Raminep Excavator, Yasharn Implacable Earth, and Primeval Titan. Each one of these has a different reason for being here, basically. Obviously, Oof is going to be against the Artifact decks and against the Storm style decks, shutting down LED and Lotus Petal. Those are the big ones, but it also shuts down Liquid Metal Coating and stuff like that against Karn the Great Creator decks. It actually shuts off Clues, which is not the best combo with Tireless Tracker, but usually against the matchups which you want Oof for, the card is pretty strong. Scavenging Ooze, obviously, against all of the very many graveyard strategies in the format. We also have access to Thalia. Thalia is a lot more powerful in Legacy than it is in Modern, because the capability of disrupting opposing strategies is kind of a big deal, and Legacy works in such tiny margins that the difference between paying 1 mana for a Brainstorm or paying 2 mana for a Brainstorm is it's probably like time walking yourself in terms of power, the potential of the power level. And a lot more decks are actually playing cheap instants and sorceries, because those are the broken cards in the format. So Thalia, a lot better in Legacy than it is in Modern, so we see it coming back from the OG Titan Vial lists. 3 copies of Once Upon a Time, because this card is actually legal in this format, so yay. A couple of Sylvan Library. One of the issues that I have had with this deck is that it tends to either flood or get screwed. So I wanted to add a second copy of library because that it smooths out your draws, and you have so many ways of shuffling between Reclaimer, Fetch Lands, Green Sun Zenith, Flagstone's Triggers, Yasharn, Primeval. That you just have so many ways of shuffling that Sybil Library is going to be very likely to be looking at a brand new set of cards every single turn, so you can really smooth out your draws. And of course, you can get some card advantage if you have the life to work with. Knight of Autumn, it's obviously going to be against artifact and enchantment decks, so being able to destroy Blood Moons and Snare and Bridges. What else? Like also opposing Sybil Libraries is also a big one against the lands decks. You can stop Mox Diamond, or you can stop a Valakut Exploration. That's the one. So the one of Knight of Autumn has been very good for me. Tireless Tracker against more mid-rangey strategies is something that you can see in it for only 4 mana. You can start to get value by hitting your land drops. Tracker is quite powerful. Ramming Up Excavator combos with Wasteland, obviously, and getting back your lands can be really powerful in Legacy. You also make sure that if you have a fetch land, you basically never miss a land drop, which is great. Because we're a pretty mana hungry deck, and we're also Field of the Dead deck, so hitting your land drops is actually super important. Dryad of Elysian Grove combos with Valakut. We have the one of Valakut kind of hanging out there that we can always go get with Reclaimer, and also the exploration effect is very powerful. So yeah, Dryad is great. As you can see, I'm only playing 3 copies. I found out that since I played the deck in the what I've been calling the NCD Open, since I played the deck there, I was playing 4 Dryads, and I thought that it was not as good, so that's where the second Seal Library came from. So only 3 Dryads, but still, like you can always sin it for them, so it's not that big of a deal. Apparition, this card is the absolute nuts, so we have 2 in the main deck and even a 3rd copy in the sideboard over here. This card is just incredible, answering Oko, answering Jace the Mind Sculptor, Countergrade Creator, Delver of Secrets, Dreadhorde Arcanist, etc. This card is very good. Yasharn actually has a lot of random uses in Legacy, which are very kind of not so intuitive. Number 1, which is a big one, it stops Force of Will. So it stops the alternate cost of Force of Will, obviously. But Force of Will, when you're paying 5 mana for it, is not as good, obviously. But that's a good one. It also stops Lotus Petal in Lion's Eye Diamond, so against combo decks this is great. It stops Street Wraith from cycling, which can be pretty useful against stuff like Doomsday. Yasharn has a lot of random uses, and getting you 2 basic lands can be kind of a big deal against all of the Wasteland strategies. So Yasharn has been legit. Like the pick sometimes comes down, and it's just like it kind of takes over, and you don't even realize it. It's pretty funny. The other day we played against Steel Stompy or Mud, however you want to say it, and like Yasharn just blanked their Ravagers. It was kind of incredible. It actually did so much stuff. Primetime is here just as a one-off. This is not particularly a Primetime deck. This is obviously a Reclaimer deck. So we only have the 1 copy that we can sin it for if we are in that kind of situation. But it's just there because it's just so good. And also, it's Primetime. But honestly, I think that Primetime is actually quite cuttable. We could play something like Titania or something like that, which is a card that I really enjoy myself. For those of you that don't know, it's a commander card. Titania, Protector of Argoth. I always enjoy decks that play this card. This one really goes ham. You start creating an army of 5/3s. Pretty cool. But I'm going with Primetime because it's Primetime. This is not the Primetime Stronghold for nothing. We also have access to Swords to Plowshares, basically best removal spell in the format, probably best removal spell ever. So 4 copies of Swords, just because we can, basically. Very useful against all of the Delvers, very useful against Depths decks. You're gonna find targets against mostly everything. What else? As far as the one-off lands, everything is the same as in the modern version. The only difference is the presence of Dry Arbor, obviously, because we have seen it, so we can always seen it forever when we have to. Bog, extremely important. I would never cut Bog in Legacy. This card is super, super important with Reclaimer. Caracas is a one-off that is game-winning against Sneak and Show sometimes if they don't go for an Omniscient skill. Sneak and Show against Depths decks, against opposing Thalias or opposing Leovolts or opposing Yasharn Implacable Earths. Caracas is pretty solid. Valakut to go with the Dryad and a couple of Field of the Deads because this is how we win most of our games. Vesuva to copy any of these as well. Going to the sideboard, we have, as I was saying, we have the third apparition, and we also have the fourth wasteland. These are two that are just like an extra copy of the effect for whenever these or this effect are very good in some matchups. Also, wasteland comes in against Delver, for example, which is a matchup where they are going to be aggressively wastelanding me, so I do not mind going up to the 30th land. So having access to the wasteland the cyber has been pretty interesting. I have liked it a lot. Deafening Silence against all of the combo decks in the format. This slows down basically every single combo deck. It slows down... well, the Storm strategy simply cannot win while this is in play. It means that if the Sneak and Show player goes for the Show and Tell, then whatever you do is going to resolve, so you can do, like, if you play Spirit of the Labyrinth or, you know, Knight of Autumn, you get to destroy the thing, so they can't kill you on that very turn, so it gives you one turn to do whatever you want. Deafening Silence has a lot of very, very cool uses. Also against stuff like Infect, it means that they can never, pump their dude and also protect it, so basically they can never pump their dude, so it gives you so much time. It's a very strong effect for just a single mana. Failure Retreat is a new card that I'm trying out. I am not 100% sold on it, but it's pretty hard to remove. Like, the only real way in the format to remove this is Skyclave Operation. Everything else is not, like, Oko doesn't touch it, Abrupt Decay doesn't touch it, so Failure Retreat has that aspect to it. And also, you start getting a ton of value from every single land drop. So whenever you resolve Failure Retreat, you basically have no bad draw steps, which is a pretty solid feat. Still not sold on the card. I have only tried it for a couple of matches, and it was okay, but like it was not game breaking by any means. Path to Exile against stuff like Death and Taxes for Delver, and for, you know, basically any deck where you want the extra bit of removal. So this is just kind of like the fifth Swords to Plowshares. This is kind of like the card that I wish that I have a room for one more, so maybe at some point I will go back to up the count to a second Path to Exile on the sideboard. Spirit of a Labyrinth is surprisingly good in Legacy right now. It stops opposing Sylvan libraries, although it does stop your own, so you have to watch out for that. You have to... it stops that, it stops Brainstorm. Ponder any of those cards. It stops the draw a card from Udo. Pretty good against Delver strategies. Pretty good against Snow. Pretty good against the Narset, Echo of Aeons, whatever his name is. Pretty good against that deck. When you deny them, they draw step. Like, you even draw a card when they echo, but they don't even draw a single card because they drew for turn. Yabqua with the Prime sub. Welcome back for the third month in a row to the Primetime Stronghold. Thank you so much for the support. So Spirit of Labyrinth actually has a lot of pretty good uses. You can also play it against Sneak and Show, and then their Greaser Brand draws are not great. Same against like the combo decks. So Spirit of Labyrinth actually has a lot of random uses, which I have been pretty impressed with this one. I have been pretty freaking impressed by this one. Tabernacle, meh. I'm not super sold on Tabernacle. It's kind of weird because we are very much a creature deck. Like, we do play a lot of creature ourselves, and I don't know. It's just like something that we can go get in or against decks like Hogak, against decks like I don't know, like slivers, like random stuff like that. I don't think it's particularly good against Delver because our wasteland aspect is not that good, and basically it only stops 1 mana from them. Hard BBR, thank you for the follow. So I don't know. This Tabernacle is still a question mark for me. I have not been impressed by it. It has been fine. Like it just has been okay. Fairy Macabre is against all of the combo decks in the format. Fairy Macabre, I believe Fairy Macabre over Surgical because of a couple of reasons. Number one, it gets around Force of Will and more importantly, Chancellor of the Annex triggers. So against stuff like Upsol spells and Reanimator, they play Chancellor of the Annex, which counters your first spell. So when they are on the play, they can reveal Chancellor of the Annex and then go off and kill you. Fairy Macabre gets around that, and it's a massive blowout. Also, if you have like a reasonable hand with a Once Upon a Time might be able to find a Fairy Macabre for you. Which is something that does come up. It does come up. It's not like incredibly likely or something, but it's something that does come up. And like I would not keep a hand with Once Upon a Time, assuming that I'm gonna find a Fairy Macabre. But if I have a reasonable hand with a Once Upon a Time, then it makes me a lot more likely to keep that hand against the combo deck. So Fairy Macabre has been very good as well. It also cannot get dressed, which is pretty good in some matchups, like Storm and whatnot. So lots of upside for Fairy Macabre specifically. So that's the reason why I'm going with 3 of these instead of something like Surgical. Arasta is a card that I tried at the very beginning. Then I was off of it, and now seeing that Delver is basically the end-all be-all of the format, Arasta came down. Basically, if you resolve Arasta against Delver, they only have Oko to answer it. And every other way that they might want to answer it is just a pretty bad exchange for them. Like not even something like Hooded Mandrills can answer Arasta because it's a 3/5. So they need to either 2-for-1 themselves, and you also get 2 1/2 spiders with like lightning bolts or whatever. It blocks Delver very well. It also is one of the few cards that at this mana can actually get you back into the game after you're behind. The issue against Delver, what I found is that if they get ahead, we don't really have that many ways of getting back to parity. Like you just need to draw one of your few removal spells, and even still, if your opponent has 2 threats on board, like if they have like a Delver and an Arcanist, then you answer one of them and you're still losing to the other one. So Arasta comes down and it's just like thud. Here I am. You cannot cantrip anymore because you're giving me 1/2 spiders with every single cantrip that you cast. Your bolts are effectively blanked, or they give me 1/2 spiders. Also, 2 1/2 spiders can jump in front of a Delver, and they can we trade 1-for-1. Like we trade the flip Delver for one of the 1/2 spiders that we got for free. So Arasta has been very impressive against specifically Delver, and that's basically the reason why it's here. Like you can play it against other decks. Like I'm probably gonna be bringing Arasta in against Snow and whatnot, but this is very much the Delver hate card. And finally, Force of Vigor. Nothing too crazy here. Like this card is just great against artifact and enchantment decks. That's it. Like I don't have anything more deep to say about that. So that's the list. That is the list. We arrived here after a lot of tuning, and hopefully we're gonna be doing well. So we're gonna be moving on to the matches now. Thank you for watching. Alright, something weird actually happened for round number 1, so unfortunately we got no round number 1. Basically, we got paired against the Will Hall Exp. If you don't know who Will is, he's another streamer. I was actually a guest in Will's channel, and he made an interview with me, so I recommend you check that out in his YouTube channel. And he also streams pretty regularly, but he was already qualified, so he just conceded to me. So started off with a very solid 1-0. All of the other matches that we're going to be playing today, they're actually played, so just the disclaimer for the first round, but sorry about that. All right, see you later on the next one. Okay, here we are trying to qualify for the ManaTraders series. Currently 1-0 after Will Hall basically concede to me because he was already qualified. Whoops. But now we're playing against Krujev. And I think I'm going to keep this hand. Double Reclaimer, and we have turn 1 Reclaimer into turn 2 Library even. Snow-covered island into Astrolabe. Okay, so maybe snow. Just gonna go off a basic forest because we have a library, so I want to save this heath to fetch if I have to. This could also be Sneak and Show. Like the new Sneak and Show shells are playing. They're playing like a bunch of colors. They're not just playing blue-red anymore. Gotta say, I love this deck. Yeah, me too. It's a lot of fun. I saw that somebody 5-0'd with a very, very similar list. It seems like it's a list inspired by this one, but they made some changes. And it's like it's a kind of different approach. They are playing Mox Diamond. They're only playing 24 lanes, which I don't like whatsoever, but it seemed like they're playing Mox Diamond. Mad Maxon, welcome back for the 21st month with a tier 1 sub. Thank you so much for that. I say to my marriage with my wife, this is now my longest relationship. Oh, Matt. Oh, Matt. Oh, Matt, the love is real. Thank you so much for the almost 2 years of support. Crazy. Crazy. So we have a couple of options here. We can Reclaimer plus Dryad Arbor. We can just slam this library. I think I'm going to slam the library. Just gives us a lot more options next turn. They probably will force it, yeah. Makes sense. Pitching Supreme Verdict. Okay, so it's definitely some form of a snow variant. No Oko is huge. Play this. And I'm definitely gonna scene it for another Reclaimer. They pitched the Verdict, so I have to assume that they probably don't have another sweeper. They could have something like a Snapcaster, that would suck, but even if they do have a Snapcaster, it's a lot better for us to play 2 Reclaimers here instead of 1. And if we do get to untap with both Reclaimers, then just Lightning Bolt is a blank. Maybe they'll fetch a duel? No duel. Snapcaster, yeah. Sure, this sucks, but it is what it is. Damn, son. They're down to 2 cards, so probably if we find any thread that's reasonable, we're gonna be in fine shape. How about a land? Land is no good. Also, they're missing land drops. And they don't have cantrips. Obviously, we don't care about this life loss. We could fetch for a Dryad Arbor, but I'm a lot more interested in... Oh, Counterbalance. That's a card. Yikes. So is my opponent playing Counterbalance without Terminus? Do you ever board out of Reclaimer? No. Hey Scott, how's it going? I'm only doing this just so I can see what's on top. Counterbalance is on top. If they have a Brainstorm, they're going to use it now. Put a 3 on top. Snapcaster Brainstorm. Well, hopefully I don't have a 3. I probably don't have that many 3s. Oh, Oko. Yeah, if they reveal an Oko, we're gonna be pretty screwed. What you gonna reveal? Back to basics. That might be game. Depends on what we draw here. I mean, I guess we can still... Yeah, I was gonna say, like, we can still draw something like that. And we can still draw... We can still draw... What's his name, right? We can still draw Field of the Dead. They showed me another counterbalance, so I'm probably not interested in exiling that one. I think I'm a lot more interested in exiling the back to basics, have my mana unlocked. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So even if we find a Zenith or a Titan, we kind of win, right? There's no way they have a 6 or a 7. There we go. So they're gonna need to have a force here. Because there's no way they have a 7. Think it's good you're still playing? Oh, I'm still very much not dead. In fact, I'm winning now. Remember when I was losing? And now I'm not anymore? And now I win the game instead? Isn't that great? How do you feel about zombies, opponent? How do you feel about zombies? Counterspell, that's cute. Remember when I was losing this game, chat? Remember when I was losing this game? Those were the times, right? This is now a Feel of the Dead sponsor stream. Oh, you know it, Cloud Scraper. You know it. Welcome back for the full year, 12 months in the Primetime Stronghold. I'm just attacking my 2/2s into my opponent's 3/3s because nothing matters anymore. Oh, man. 1 year in the Stronghold. Hell yeah. Wow. And to think that you doubted me, Scott. You doubted me. You were already out the door. You were already out the door. Like, yeah, this guy's dead. Let's move on to the next one. Like, no. Let me tell you a thing or two about this guy. This guy doesn't give a fuck. This guy right here, he ain't messing around. He ain't messing around. The real fans never doubted you. Yeah, exactly. Who top decks Zenith? The master, right here. Who's got 2 thumbs and top decks Zenith? This guy right here. This one. Alright, what are we doing here? My opponent did not see any Uros there, and I didn't see any green cards either. I think I do want Force of Vigor. Like, my opponent has a bunch of targets for this. Between Counterbalance, Back to Basics, I think that's enough fodder for these Force of Vigor. Maybe I only leave 2 operations. Maybe I cut this guy? Nah. Let's leave you a shiny shot. Clearly hasn't accepted Primetime as his Lord and Savior. Yeah, you gotta believe, dude. This hand seems fine against the deck that's trying to play spells and draw cards. It's pretty good. Oh, my opponent's flashing red too. I forgot about that. I think I actually would like the heat here. This means that I'm not playing a spell on one. There's also an argument for Apparition, because Apparition answers some of the problematic stuff my opponent could be putting into play. Heath is where I would naturally go. I think I would... Wow, this is a really tough Once Upon a Time. This is a really, really tough Once Upon a Time. Really hate that the Blue Rare Kiki deck's being imposed against Tamil. Yeah, I know. In this deck is Wasteland Land? Yes, it is. No, so their thing is, if I play Reclaimer, my opponent probably kills it, right? So, I'm trying to figure out how this game is gonna play out. If I don't do anything, my opponent gets to Brainstorm, but that's a wasted Brainstorm, and that's the only cantrip that they can cast. Otherwise, their mana goes wasted. So, what I'm trying to think is, if I don't play a threat here, if I don't play anything for my opponent to use their mana on, then what happens is I untap and I play Thalia. My opponent is stacked. Maybe they answer the Thalia immediately. Then next turn I play another Thalia. And then my opponent's going to need to have another answer to the Thalias. I think I'm actually going to go for the Thalia here. As weird as that sounds. Even though I literally have a second Thalia in hand. We only get blown out by display. Because of... by Caracas. But like my opponent they're playing a counterbalance deck and they brainstorm the end of turn. Like that's a wasted brainstorm. Like that's such a waste of a brainstorm. Which has particularly extra value in their deck. We're fairly happy with them killing Reclaimer over Spirit or Thalia though, and if they don't kill it... Yeah, but if they kill it, my opponent killing the Thalia is almost a little bit of a time walk, which is the point that I'm trying to make here. Like, we play the Thalia that they know about, maybe they kill it, but now they didn't do anything of relevance on turn 1, and they didn't do anything of relevance on turn 2. Basically, my opponent just has 2 turns that they kind of just wasted. Yeah, we're just getting them off curve. My opponent with perfect mana. I think I'm gonna Zenith for 0 and then play Thalia. That's 2 brainstorms that my opponent has wasted already. Ruben Bola Wizards had his wife cheating him so they signed blue cards. That's a very reasonable theory. But we're at 23, so we're winning the race. Okay, let's see what my opponent does here. Even if they back to basics us, we still can track her. What is this, Jace? Counterbalance. They shuffled, so I'm gonna track her here. See what my opponent has on top. They have Force of Will on top. Play a land. Fetch. Get a Savannah. Huh. Now the question is, do I draw a card or do I Spirit of the Labyrinth? Because my opponent showed me Supreme Verdict last game. I think I play around Verdict. I think I play around Verdict. Granted that they have been using their Swords to Plowshares to kill my Thalias, but maybe they just are missing land drops or something. Again, that's the third Brainstorm that my opponent, quote unquote, wastes. I want to hold Spirit on the tracker or something. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat here. Like, my opponent needs to kill this tracker anyway, right? And they also showed me back to basics. Yeah, there we go. Unsurprisingly, they had a verdict. We got a reasonable amount of value from this tracker. It basically effectively drew 2 cards. I'm not gonna force a Vigor knowing that my opponent has Force of Will. Wasteland is kind of nice. So let's play the Spirit. Don't reveal. Back to basics. Do I think that my opponent's last card is a blue card? I think we just have to, right? It's a 2 for 2. I know that they don't, there's no way they have a 4. So it's a matter of, do they have a, they don't, sick. Wow. So now, even if, of course, this sucks now. Obviously, that's no secret. But wow, with the Spirit in play, they force the. That's kind of wild to me. So that we know that they're drawing a force that they can't cast. Whee! Guess who's back? Remember when Scott gave up on me in the first game? Remember when that happened? Remember when Scott gave up on me? I'm gonna remember that, Scott. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna remember that. I should apologize. Oh yeah, good old prime time. Good old prime time. Anyway, we'll be back for match number 3. Alright everyone, we're currently 2-0, trying to qualify for the ManaTraders series. Getting paired against Alex MCL88. And we're greeted with not the best hand I've ever seen, so we're gonna ship it. My opponent knows who I am because they told me Buenas tardes, Francisco. Ah. Alex, actually a patron. Patron that joined this past week. How much longer is this? Play Scourge in Modern? I mean, if you want me to play anything, we do have donation lists available. All right. My opponent tells me this is their 7th game of Legacy, 7th match of Legacy. This is not a hand that we can keep, unfortunately. This is a hand that we can keep. And in the blind, I guess I bought on prime time. Well, that first hand not looking so bad anymore, huh? Once upon a time into... Huh. JK Howells, thank you so much for the subscription. Welcome to the Primetime Stronghold. So we're probably playing against DNT. Either DNT or Espervile. What I'm thinking about is, like, we have land drops for this turn and for the next turn, but we also have a second Reclaimer. The thing is that we use this to get a second Reclaimer. We're not using this to find an answer to the Vial / something else. So I think I'm getting Reclaimer here in case this first Reclaimer gets answered. And I'm definitely gonna get a Basic Forest here. I've always wondered how people don't cheat on MTG by looking at streamers' hands on stream. I mean, they can do that. It's part of the it's part of the price of being a streamer. Like, you can use like hand hiders and stuff like that, but then like that's just shitty content, right? So I'd much rather create better content and run the risk of being stream sniped. I mean, it's just a choice that I make, you know. Yeah, you just believe that people are not shitty, basically. But it kind of is what it is. Like, if people are indeed shitty, then like that's what it is, you know. Which meta do I find more interesting, Modern or Legacy? That's a good question. Well, I've been brewing a lot in Legacy right now, so that has been exciting to me. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe I should have killed the Skyclave operation there. I guess that we're past trying to play around my opponent's artifacts, and we just have to live with the Aether Vial. If they have something like a Stoneforge, that could be an issue. That could definitely be an issue, but... So what I could have done is I could have like gotten Oof right there. But if I go get Oof and my opponent like has Flicker Whips, they just hard cast Flicker Whips, Blink Apparition, Oof dies. That's it. You know? It's probably not great for me, huh? Hey Professor, how's it going? So we're gonna have to plow this apparition, which is not great, but it's also not the worst thing to happen. What's up, Greco? How's it going? I've always wondered that during COVID times, this Magic is more online format. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that does happen. Doesn't happen that often, but oh man. Am I supposed to once upon for a land? I feel like I'm supposed to once upon a time for a land. It has to be an untapped land. Any untapped land does it, but I think, yeah, okay. Well, that grows Reclaimer, which is very nice. The downside is it forces me to activate right now. It also takes a Flagstones from my deck, which I'm kind of not loving. Don't have a Wisp, 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 don't, or Reclaim or Recruiter. Damn it. We can do the Flagstone trick here if we need to. I'm hoping to not have to do it. The Stoneforge is going to come back on their end step, I think. Alright, Stas, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, that Jita is kind of messed up there, huh? I let my opponent get the Jita counters. I'm gonna have to time walk ourselves here. But we got some pretty good value there. I mean, honestly, we got some kind of insane value, actually. Like we got to deal with 2 GT counters there. Thalia is actually a little bit annoying on this board. Down to 1 card. Find Batter Skull. Another Flagstones. So we're gonna have to find an answer to this GT. We can beat this Batter Skull fairly easily, I think. The problem is the Wisp plus the GT. But as soon as we can keep both of these under control, we're gonna be fine. If my opponent attacks with Thalia, I think we just chomp with the illusion. We want to keep our life total kind of high, and like this illusion is not gonna be doing much better than a chump block anyway, so I guess that we can chump block the Batter Skull in a later turn. We're taking 5 down to 12. If we find a plow, that's gonna be good for us. So I think we just take it, actually. Upon further consideration, I think we just take it. Waste my Temple Garden. It's kind of fine. Dryad is huge. I feel like I have to guarantee that I'm gonna get a trigger, so I'm gonna play this first. Yo, Spike with the raid. Thank you for that, my friend. We are playing some Legacy, trying to qualify for the ManaTraders stuff. Have I considered adding a land to this deck? Actually, I have. TGE, thank you for the follow. In fact, I have a land in my sideboard. I have 2 lands in my sideboard. That's how much I have considered adding a land to this deck. Oh, okay. So now that this happened, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sack these Flagstones, get a Savannah, we're gonna get Valakut. Once we get Valakut, we can trigger over here, see what my opponent does. Maybe they will make their dude grow. They don't. Okay. So that's good. The only thing better than a spike raid is when the spike raid comes with the troll attached to it. That's like getting twice the amount of value. That's so good. So what we're gonna do here is, I guess we're gonna block the germ. There's nothing that we can really do. We can attempt to kill the germ. If we, I think we do that, yeah. So that forces my opponent to do something with their counters. And if they save the germ, that means that they don't kill the dryad, right? So unless they have exactly apparition, we should be fine. And now we can Vesuva. So they will need to have exactly apparition. Which it seems like they don't, because that would have been a pretty good time to use it. Okay, that's a bunch of nonsense. So, we're gonna... I guess let's do this first. Attempt to kill there. Cool. Play this. So at this point, I think my opponent does not have apparition, and that's probably fair to assume. So 1, 2, gonna sack this thing. Gonna get Vesuva, copy Invalakut, put 2 triggers there. I'm killing the Thalia last because my opponent, the Thalia is locking my opponent out of being able to plow my Dryad, so. Opponent's gaining life. They don't need to gain life right here. Oh, that was just a misclick. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. Always yes. Now we play this, and we have to kill the Thalia last. We can attack because anything that my opponent could play, we just have 2 Valakut triggers at instant speed whenever we want them, so we're fine. Our modern deck is superior to my opponent's modern deck, that's true. We are playing the superior modern deck in Legacy. Classic turn 8 Vial. Love to see it. Oh, well that cannot name Windswept Heath, so we're fine. Also, this library is getting value. This library is getting hella value. Also, library making sure that we don't randomly find our last fetchable is just so sweet. Okay, we did manage to stabilize here. We're looking pretty good. And the Zenith, it can be... What can the Zenith be? Because we kind of don't care about their equipment any longer. Because they don't have anything to staple the equipment onto. So I think we just go get the prime time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You know who's coming to town, right? You know who's coming to town when Green Sun Incinerator for 6 goes on the stack, right? You know what time it is? Do you know what time it is, chat? Because I know. Hell yeah. Whoo! It is prime time, baby. Dragon Harbor. Alright, let's get a couple of Field of the Deads. This is looking pretty good. My opponent can wisp something if they want to. It doesn't matter, because then we just fetch and we kill that, so... I think the story of this game was my opponent prioritizing saving the Battle Skull token in the turn where they could have actually answered my Dryad there. I think the game would have been very, very different if they had answered my Dryad in that spot. These are all the cards that I want. Apparition is great. Wasteland over Bojuka Bog. Thalia, GTFO. Scavenging Ooze is pretty bad. We could get prime times here. Mammoth. We got everything. We got the mammoth. We got the pig. I actually didn't use the pig sound. That was definitely a wasted opportunity. There you go. That's what happens when you hear the pig. And then whenever you use the mammoth, we got this one. I'm ready. They wouldn't have been able to acid, right? They've just killed the blocker with the Valkyrie trigger. Yeah, worse, but what that does is we actually just open ourselves to get apparition. So at that point, I was trying to apparition. Like, I'd rather my opponent use 4 GT counters. I'd rather them use 4 GT counters to answer my Dryad than me just getting completely blown out by an apparition. Yeah, on the draw, I feel like cutting 1 library is fine. On the play, I do like the library, though. Just gonna cut the pig. Very nice. Sounds very accurate and iconic. Beautiful. That's just beautiful. Arceus Dota, thank you for the follow. Yeah, we have to ship this. Titan Cake W, indeed. Indeed. Well, this hand's a lot better. So we're gonna keep this and we're just gonna bottom the field. This can be real awkward, but with my opponent not having a plains, obviously if they had access to a plains, they would 100% be playing a plains here. But instead they played a port. So port makes me think that my opponent doesn't have too many lands. Which means that it's not very likely that they're going to be able to plow my Reclaimer. Double port is kind of annoying. We at least do have a white source, so if my opponent plays a Mom here on end step, we can actually allow it. Definitely attacking, because my opponent's not going to be attacking, so. The only deck I truly hate with all my life is Amulet. Yeah, sounds fair. No, opponent didn't block. So unlucky. Obviously, we kind of have to kill Mom on site. There's not too much of a way around it. And now, if they do port my dude, if they do port my land, we at least get a little bit of value because we get the activation. Don't hate decks, just hate the players. That is my philosophy. That is my philosophy, Michael. Recruiter. Oh, recruiter for Revoker is just gross here. Oh, for Stoneforge. I would have 100% recruited for Revoker there. What am I doing here? Let's say I waste them. Let's say I waste them. If I waste them, what happens? I waste them. They still have 3 mana. They have not missed a land drop just yet. We do get to activate. We're going to go up to 3 mana. My opponent can still board me down to 2 mana. But I'm still missing white mana though. So if they port me on upkeep, we're still kind of screwed. But I think I actually have to wasteland. The reason for that is that my opponent showed me Stoneforge, and if they have a land, they can start getting GT counters. So I have to stop their GT nonsense. And I think I'm not playing around Revoker because my opponent fetched for a Stoneforge. Yeah. Sword of Fire and Ice. Huh, I'm actually surprised that they still have Sophie in their deck. Don't operation me, bro. Just don't operation me. Wasting them while ramping with Flax on Jeskai. Yes, it really is. Oops. What happened there? There we go. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm activating right now, so. Mind Sensor? They have Mind Sensor? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it sucks, but it's also fine. So we still need a white source here, so I guess that I'm gonna get Flagstones anyway. It's not like getting Caracas does anything for me. So I think the play is we get rid of the Vial and then we waste their port, and we try to bottleneck them on mana. If they offer the trade, we obviously take it. I have Mind Sensor Nightmares? Yeah, 100%. We get a 1-1, they get a 1-1, but more importantly, now their Wisps are going to be less strong, although they're probably just going to Wisp Recruiter anyway, but that's a problem. So I guess we're going to have to plow that. Geesh. We're going to have to operation that. So we're gonna have to jump this turn, hope we draw land, and then unless they have a Wisp, this Titan should be... Oh, okay. Apparition, my apparition. Okay, so this is now everything, okay? So we have to draw something here. Probably our best draw is Knight of Autumn. 1, 2, 6. Knight of Autumn into land is our best bet. Last card in hand is Sword of Fire and Ice. But they have no evasion. Don't play a Mom. To be fair, like a lot of their cards are just an absolute nightmare for us. So it's kind of aggro. Land? Easy. Sad that I copy Canopy now, but it is what it is. Again, at least the most important thing is that they don't have evasion, and this war doesn't get through my zombies, so we're kind of fine. My opponent is at a bunch of life, but it probably doesn't really matter. Here comes the sword. That's fine. I'm sure happy that I answer the what's his name, huh? Sure happy that I managed to answer the vial in time. Used Canopy to equip. Troubling. I will block. I will block so fast you have no idea, opponent. I will block hella fast. Okay. Still fine. We have a reclaimer, so. I'm gonna save the fetch because the tokens don't matter as much as Valakut triggers would matter. Thalia. This card should probably not be in my opponent's deck. That primetime sure came in clutch. So what are we looking for here? Dryad is the best option. Dryad is the best draw. So Dryad / Zenith kind of wins on the spot. From there we have Raminap. Raminap would be a very strong draw. Just gonna get a Caracas, I guess. Raminap would be a very strong draw. Collector, oof, you say. So we attack with everything. Yeah, we're not even close to having a good attack. I guess we are close to having a good attack. Next turn, we should be swinging for lethal, huh? Because we're going to be getting 2 more zombies plus 2 more zombies. So we can probably line up a lethal attack next turn, barring some form of interaction. Dark Raya, thank you for the follow. Now I'm getting Valakut. It's not doing anything just yet, but if I draw a Dryad, of course, I have to make sure that we got that covered. So my opponents had a virtual 31 because they're going to gain 6 with the germ. Virtual 31, I have 10, 14, 16, 17 attackers. They are 31, they block 4, they take 10 plus 2, 3. That's not enough, that's 26. Oh, well that makes things easier. Green, white, colorless. Remember when I said I didn't have good attacks? Psych! What's up, Dimwick? Alright, that was cool. That was cool. I think there were a couple of situations where my opponent's inexperience in the format showed a little bit. Getting the Sword of Fire and Ice was probably a mistake in my opinion. Honestly, personally, I think that when my opponent recruited for Stoneforge, I think I would have recruited for Action Revoker to name my Reclaimer just so they can lock my engine down. But once you go for the Stoneforge, which is still a defensible play for sure, but once you go for the Stoneforge, I think that it might have been correct for them to go for Jite. Because Jite would have made things a lot better for them, sorry. Because Jite just makes, if you never play with Yumisawa's Jite, it just makes combat an absolute nightmare, right? Because you start like giving +2 to a creature, and then you minus on your opponent's creatures, so they never can line up good attacks and blocks. So if this had been Sword of Feast and Famine, I would have been all over it. But the fact that it was Sword of Fire and Ice, I think, made it a little bit of a worse play for them. But yeah, I mean, that is the kind of thing that just comes with experience. And Death and Taxes is definitely a deck that rewards mastery, like by a lot. Like it's not a coincidence that you always see the same Death and Taxes players doing well. You always see XJ Cloud, you always see Thomas Enables, and like you always see the same players doing well over and over again. And that is not really a coincidence. All right, we'll be back for round number 4. All right, this is round number 4 of the ManaTraders series qualification events. This hand is almost there, except it's not because we have dried up or an opener, so we're gonna ship it. Yeah, we're gonna mold to 6. This hand is beautiful. We're gonna keep it. And in the blind, I guess I shipped the Valakut, huh? Hopefully we're playing against a deck against which Collector Oof is good. Hopefully. Uh-oh. Good thing I kept Knight of Autumn. Okay, so the key card here is Price of Progress, right? Like this is the card that we're looking to we're gonna be trying to play around for the entirety of the match. So fetching for basics is a priority. We are gonna only be able to play around that card for so long and so well. So if it gets to a point where we just have to jam, we'll just have to jam. But yeah, I actually have not played against Burn a single time with this list, so I have no idea how good or bad the matchup is. I imagine it's pretty bad. I would imagine that it's pretty poor, but we'll see. Swift Spear. And Swift Spear. So we can get Fire Blasted here, but that's fine. Like they just double Stone Rain themselves. They do kill my Reclaimer. Saving the point of damage seems worth. The real question here is, am I ramping or am I making a 3-4? Because if I want to make a 3-4, it's better for me to use Windswept Heath. But if the plan is to ramp, then obviously it's better to Flagstones. We can Flagstones for Flagstones, sacrificing the forest, but that doesn't really progress my game plan too much. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think I'm just gonna fetch for... Just get Savannah, I guess. This means I'm gonna be behind, but it makes my opponent's attacks a lot worse. They can Fire Blast my Reclaimer right here, but I don't think they will. Nah, Oof to block is just bad. Exquisite Firecraft. My face. Not my dude. Are we dead to Fire Blast here? Take 4. Yeah, we're dead to Fire Blast, so we can't play around it, so we're just gonna block. Source to Plowshares. I'm getting Wasteland because it's pretty important to... If you're gonna have a bunch of non-basics, it's important to have Wasteland available. We do seem to be pretty screwed here, I'm not gonna lie. So... Just gonna gain 4 here. I couldn't fetch there because if they do have Fire Blast, I am actually just Dobbs, so... But I was Dobbs last turn, so I should have fetched for a basic, actually. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I should have gotten a basic Plains. Because now I just got myself. My opponent just doesn't have it. Sweet. So we're gonna see Nether Valakut here, huh? That's the play. Oh, we try to kill them next turn. If we get a next turn, that is, obviously. We have to save the Zenith for the Dryad. I don't think we can really play around Price of Progress, because I think we have to YOLO and we have to attempt to make lethal happen. Suspend Rift Bolt. So they only have one card left, and I don't die to Price of Progress. So basic planes. Gonna get Valakut. We untap. Find Riot. Play Caracas. 3 to the face. So this is 3, and then we 12 them. I'm gonna do this in upkeep though. So now if they do have Fire Blast, they're gonna have to Fire Blast my Dryad, otherwise they're just Obs. Ha! They had the Fire Blast. So now they are dead. Let me show you that Vesuva OP. There we go. Let me show you that Vesuva real quick. Remember those 2 points of damage that I attacked for last turn? Remember those 2 points of damage that I attacked for last turn, chat? Seemed like a weird attack with the Knight of Autumn, huh? It seemed like a weird attack with the Knight of Autumn. Definitely seemed like a weird attack there. Okay, this matchup seems bad. We have nothing. Couldn't we activate Reclaimer first for Vesuva? So I'm trying to incite my opponent to firebolt my face, right? I am trying to make the attack so that we can firebolt ourselves. They can firebolt me, and I can, because otherwise they fire blast, not firebolt. If they fire blast my, my Dryad, then we actually don't have lethal. Why without Titan isn't the only thing that wins in the spot in some scenarios? Because we basically can never play Titan in the face of Price of Progress, right? Because it's always going to be lethal. So I'd rather be kind of like gathering resources as I go. Rocker Skadies, think of it follow, instead of just getting Titan. It's pretty sad that Yasharn doesn't stop Fire Blast, because it says sacrifice non-land permanents. Rather have Wasteland over Bog. I don't think I want Path to Exile. Definitely want Force. Definitely want Ooze. Definitely want Thalia. Maybe I don't want 3 Silences. Nah, this is fine, right? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I think Vortex is pretty scary, but we have Force of Vigor for that. Maybe Arasta is just not good. Tab to help tax. Nah, tab is not what you want to do. Lands that don't produce mana are not very good against burn. Also, they can operate on very, very few lands. Tabernacle is for the matchups where they have like a bazillion lands. This hand's terrible. They have a bazillion creatures, and they just cannot keep up, basically. This hand is pretty solid, so I'm going to keep him bottom the waist. Is interesting same versus Burn? I don't know. This is my very first time playing against Burn. Thalia sounds legit here. Probably better than Scavenging Ooze, particularly when I have only a single green source. Eidolon. Yeah, I'll block. I think I'm going to use this turn to ramp. Next turn we Dryad plus kill their dudes. What do you got? Riftbolt, my dude. Definitely gonna get a Valakut in play here. My opponent has learned their lesson. Zenith. Well, Zenith is pretty cool here. We can Zenith for 4, Knight of Autumn, kill the Eidolon. We could also Zenith for 4, just game 4. I'm kind of into that. We don't even take damage from Eidolon. That's how good this play is. Just game 4. Next turn we get to kill the Eidolon and the Swiss Spear thanks to the Dryad. Got a Gobo. And I'm totally blocking your Eidolon if you let me. 100% blocking your Eidolon. Yep. Green Sun is the top deck. Okay, so this is just awesome. Dryad, play land, Valakut, your Swift Spear. Yes. And I think I'm gonna seal it for Reclaimer here. Leaving up Wasteland to play around second Price of Progress. And it also plays around removal, which is cute. Zenith Furnace? No, I don't want to Zenith Furnace. We can only take 2 from this Price of Progress if we wanted to. But do we actually have lethal here? Sack this. We take 4, or we take 6 down to 4. Now we just, yeah, we just do this. We only take 2 now. Which is fine. And now Reclaimer takes us home. Like, there's no card that can deal this amount of damage, right? So we got them locked out now. Pew pew pew. Valakut. Valakut. Double Fireballs. They have 0 cards in hand. So I have lethal set up as is. And my opponent has 0 cards in hand. So 4-0. Clean sweep. See you for round number 5.